Hey guys, and welcome back to De-Influenced, where I dive into the messy world that is influencer culture. One, so you guys don't have to, but two, to hold influencers accountable for their crappy behaviors. Today, grab your strongest coffee or maybe channel your inner Tasha K and grab a glass of wine because I've got a doozy for you. As you will have seen from the title, we are finally diving into the lore that is Rose and Brett Miller, aka King of Queens. No, sorry, aka Queen of Kings. I can't believe with how many times I filmed this, I still can't get their YouTube tag name right, but it's fine. Yikes, guys. The journey from super cute interracial couple to, oh man, call CPS and maybe a couple therapists is a train wreck that you absolutely will not be able to look away from. We have a lot to cover. Let's go, guys. So I have here my coffee hot and ready to go. Hopefully you have yours as well, or maybe a cold coffee. It is coming into spring and all, so hot, cold, whatever floats your boat. We've also got our emotional support kitty here, which is very important. He wasn't here for the last filming of Queen of Kings. Wow, I almost didn't say it right, but I did. Maybe that's why the audio messed up, because they're like, hey, we don't have the mixer in the deep dive, and people just aren't going to be able to sit through a deep dive without Mickey napping pleasantly beside us, right? Before we get deeper into this video, I do want to address the elephant in the room. I understand that my positioning as a white woman gives me a lot of privilege in today's society. And frankly, I didn't know how much privilege I actually had based on the color of my skin until I really dove deep into this story and a lot of the stereotypes and generational trauma that people of color have suffered from for centuries now. Me being so naive and not realizing that is basically showing my privilege. Let's be realistic, because it's not something that I have to consider day in and day out or think about daily. So the reason it took me so much time to get this video out is because I really wanted to show up from a place of caring and compassion, understanding that I will never be able to fully understand what people of color go through day in and day out just based on the color of their skin. This isn't even talking humans being crappy with each other. My goal for presenting this to you the way I have is to provide an educational type video on the harmful behaviors displayed on the Queen of Kings platform. Because, like I said, guys, yikes. It's bad. And although race does play a part, because we're going to be talking about how a lot of the behaviors seen perpetuate harmful stereotypes, it's not the main focus of this deep dive. The focus of this video is on those harmful toxic behaviors that have the possibility of affecting their children, their audience, and anyone consuming their content. They are public figures, and public figures need to be held at a higher standard. Something that Rose Miller is not being held at, to say it lightly. And today we are going to be covering it all: the parenting fails, the relationship red flags, and we're going to discuss the real world impacts that their content can have on their children as well as their audience. With all that housekeeping out of the way, let's move on to dissecting the Queen of Kings platform. Shall we? As I said in the beginning, I dove really deep into researching for this video so that I could come at this from a place of compassion, at least educated on the various stereotypes. And what I found out while researching way in the beginning is that the content that Rose and Brett put forth is actually very niche content, which is something that I didn't know. For centuries now, interracial couples have been seen as taboo or even just labeled as different, out of the ordinary, not normal, whatever that means nowadays. Not only just that, but the blended family aspect of it, with Rose having come to the relationship with two older boys, also adds an added layer of complexity to the dynamic that is wildly underrepresented. I said it in the last deep dive, underrepresented. I almost said it again. That is widely underrepresented in today's media. Both interracial couples as well as blended families face a unique set of adversities in day-to-day life. And if you choose to disagree with me on that, well, that's showing your privilege right there. They've also been highly fetishized, especially in media. But what really blew my mind about interracial couples is up until 1967, they were actually banned in the United States of America, making the US only one of 3 countries who have ever had anti-miscegenation laws. The other countries include Nazi Germany and a couple other spots in Africa. And up until the bill Loving versus Virginia was finally passed, you weren't allowed to be in an interracial relationship. That's how taboo and off limits they were for a century. So Rose and Brett's platform with the successful interracial couple and the successful blended family vibes going on fill that content gap that people are seeking. But you'll see from the beginning, it's all just a facade because you can pick out the red flags in their relationship, which we will get into later when we look at their how we met story. There's tons of red flags there. And even their first ever vlog, their interracial couple vlog, the vibes, guys, bad news bears, Akko Taco. So what exactly draws people in? Well, some people see themselves in Brett and Rose. People tend to find validation or even a sense of solidarity in this type of content, at least in the polished version that Rose and Brett sell to us. And other people are curious about the taboo type nature that we spoke of earlier, and they're drawn into the thrill of it all. And we also have to consider the fact that a lot of people might find Rose and Brett's content to be very aspirational or inspirational, as Rose has shown that she has successfully divested from her ex-baby daddy, who is a total deadbeat. And Brett has come in to save the day, to support her children and treat them as his own, to raise them as a father figure in their life. And they get drawn into that love conquers all type trope that Rose and Brett tried so hard to shove down everyone's throat until July of 2024 when it all came crumbling down, which we will get more into in just a little bit. But labeling Brett constantly as her strong white king, because she is always race baiting, in my opinion. Even up until a couple weeks ago, she went live again for the first time after deleting all of her lives and scrubbing them from the internet. Even labeled it, "Get ready with me for my strong, powerful white king's 38th birthday," or something like that. But it's not race baiting. Okay. So even though she tries to say that it's not race baiting, you guys can decide for yourselves based on the content that she puts forth, and I'll leave it at that. But for her to constantly be labeling him, it gives Brett this illusion, this sensationalized illusion of being a savior, of saving her from a horrible place, of swooping in and taking care of her children, saving her from a previously horrible, toxic relationship, one that she was still in when she met Brett, mind you.
I was in a nightclub with my boyfriend at the time, but I knew right then and there that he was going to be my ex-boyfriend because we went to have a good time, and he was very stuck up. He was a Filipino guy.
Plus, you saw something better.
No, I don't just leave my partner for something
2 seconds
better.
in the front door. Who the hell is that?
No, I was actually.
I was batting off girls left and right, like I normally do.
But realistically, what truly draws people in is the drama. It hooks them, and Rose seems to feed off of this. The family chaos, the lifestyle toxic vibes, it's all what keeps people coming back for more and continuing to watch. Let's be real. Who doesn't love a good show every once in a while? Right? Now we need to get into why this is potentially problematic to paint this kind of picture about your partner or paint this kind of picture about your life. What this type of content ends up doing is it ends up risking sensationalizing trauma and chaos and normalizing it and turning pain and trauma into clicks and views for profit or fame or notoriety. First, a little bit on how they got started together as a couple and on YouTube. Back in 2019, the Kween of Kings platform was born, and their first ever vlog titled Interracial Couples First Vlog was posted. Really setting the stage strong here, Rose. And over time, the Queen of Kings platform hit over 1 million subscribers, 1.1 million to be exact. But the real question is, how exactly did we get here? Was it the niche type content that we spoke of earlier, that kind of taboo vibe of the relationship? Or maybe it was just the underrepresentation that people were craving and seeking in their social media before they realized it was just a total toxic train wreck of a mess.
On the toxic gossip train.
And all just a total lie. Or was it maybe something deeper than that, such as race or rage baiting? While Rose claims she doesn't race bait,
I don't feel like I don't know, purposely race baited.
her content paints a different picture. It seems to be constantly focused on race, on being an interracial couple, on Brett being a white man. And while I understand that it's important for interracial couples to share their experience and spread awareness, as they all do, I think that simply just labeling everything as interracial isn't ending the stigma. It's more so putting yourself into a proper algorithm, if that makes sense. Because ending stigma involves educating people. It involves not perpetuating harmful stereotypes. Just saying. So now that we've gone into a little bit of the backstory, how we got here, why people are drawn to this content, I want to focus first and foremost on the parenting fails. Over the years, Brett and Rose expanded their family, and together, Rose and Brett welcomed Race and River to the blended family. And they really sold the dream thick of this perfect interracial couples blended family dynamic. That's the image that they sold real hard. But from day one, you could see that there was already some tension and some cracks starting to form. Like I said earlier, in the family Q&A, Ross and Raiden allude to the fact that their father doesn't care about them anymore and doesn't call them anymore, and that they're gonna call Brett dad now.
But we want Brett to be our little dad because his name's other dad, and Brett actually loves us. Our other dad don't care about. He don't even call us. He don't even call us. He don't care.
Now, everyone has their own family dynamics, right? And I don't think it's inherently wrong for children to call their step-parents mom or dad if the person is an actual stable, supportive, loving person in their life. And if the boys came up with that on their own. But being encouraged to call someone dad just because they're here and, with your mom, that's not okay. Now, while I realize that it's pretty obvious for children at their age to realize that their dad's not calling anymore, for them to say stuff like he doesn't care about us anymore, I feel like that's fed into their brain. And for them to say it with such conviction behind it, it feels like that's what they're being told. Your dad doesn't call anymore because he doesn't care. He doesn't care about you, so he doesn't call. There could be 100 different reasons. He could also be calling. This could all just be a lie. We don't know. We're not there. But this is one narrative that I found paints Brett as the white savior, which is a really harmful stereotype, and also paints the two older boys' father as a deadbeat. Another really harmful stereotype that has been thrust onto the shoulders of Black men for generations now. One that's not fair for all of them to shoulder, especially considering I'm pretty sure Brett has children from a previous marriage that he's all but abandoned.
And you've been nothing but a deadbeat to your daughter. You knew your daughter, you knew where she was, you did not try at all whatsoever. Let's be honest about the fact that I'm the one that made you see your daughter. Let's be honest about the fact that when I met you, you was lying about that the fact that you had a daughter. Let's be honest about the fact that you are a literal how angry I got when I found out that you can't see that little girl, and I told you to go and get a lawyer and go fight for your daughter, literally pissed off that you wouldn't fight for your daughter? Let's be honest about the fact that you lie and say she was a one-night stand, but your mother even told me that y'all was together.
Just throwing it out there. And if that's the case, that sucks. Don't do that. Don't be going and having babies. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care who you are. Don't be going having babies and abandoning them and not taking care of them. Why would you do that? Why would you bring a life onto this planet only to set it up for failure because its father's gonna F off? And this is where the messiness of their dynamic, I guess you could say, really starts to shine through, because it shows a serious lack in boundaries between parents and children. And I also saw other stuff, I believe on Reddit, that said that Rose encouraged the two younger ones to tap her tushy. Okay, and that they get really sexual in front of the kids and stuff like that. I believe those were all on lives that have previously been deleted.
Yeah, I don't give a damn. You're gonna have one more, okay? Don't get on this live and start acting funny style. You know for a fact you just told me yes.
Love you. Love you, Mom. Mom, love you.
Come here, bring that. Come here, bring that. Come here, bring that.
Now, Rose clearly told CPS Jackie that didn't happen, right? But we're watching it happen. And you can hear Racer sitting right next to her on the bed, and he's going to continuously talk to her the entire time. And when she reached over and grabbed Brett's, Racer started laughing along with Rose.
Yeah, come here, bring that. Come here, bring that. Anyways, y'all. No, I'm not playing. This one is going to be the girl for sure, okay? Do you hear me? Get off, Race. Race, get off.
Mom, when is it? It'll be Christmas.
Okay, but do you hear? This one's going to be the girl.
Mom.
Wait, get off, Race. Get off, or we're not going to go to the pool. Get off.
Okay.
This one's going to be the girl, yeah? Okay, now we saying it's 7.
Mom, actually, it's cool.
No, for real, I'm pretty positive. You can skip that many days. The sperm dies in the sac every 48 hours. You have to do it every other.
And Racer is talking to her about Christmas, and she's still talking about Brett's gym and having a baby and sperm. But she told CPS Jackie it didn't happen.
Day.
Mom, actually,
So it's filled
and they talk
every other day.
Mom, actually, it's good too, okay?
Race, get off. No, we know how to have babies real good, Dana. We do it on my ovulation day. Dana, the jack doesn't stop. I wish I could tell y'all about Dana and her documents, but I can't be telling y'all about another woman and her husband. Race, sit down. Dad's really scared that you're going to wake this baby up. Sit down.
And goes on to talk about penis appointments and jackrabbits and sperm and yeah.
But boundaries. And that wasn't the only time that we saw that lack of boundaries. There's another example of Rose straight, frantic, emotional because the boy's father wouldn't sign their passport papers.
Their passports, I had to pay the money for it, everything. Been trying to get their freaking passports for years, literally.
Yeah, and they still have their.
It makes no sense. It's literally so simple. Why wouldn't you want your kids to have passports? He has one, like his whole family. Why wouldn't you want? I don't get it. That's like your only sense of control. That's disgusting. And I don't even understand.
And she even went so far as to say that she was just going to start traveling with the younger boys and that the 2 older boys are cool with that. And I promise you, they don't think that's okay.
Unfortunately, I'm going to start traveling with the younger 2 boys, with or without the older 2.
And I'll stay behind with Roz and Raiden since they can't travel.
Yeah.
And Rose is going to explore and expand some of this great earth. Like what? Were we thinking Japan?
They're probably not going to say that they're not cool with it, but there's no way that they would ever be actually cool with something like that. That's not fair.
We've been wanting to go so many places as a family and unable to go because we don't want to go out the country, just Brett, Racer, and I. That seems very divisive to our family.
That seems very divisive to our family.
But at the same time, I can't, like, not live due to this. and not experience life.
She even ends up dragging her oldest Ross into the picture and asked him to ask his dad to sign the passport papers and stuff like that.
Roz is very mature at his age, so he has a full understanding, and he has spoke with his biological many times regarding this and have been promised that he get the passports taken care of, and it's still not done.
And when children are brought into co-parenting messes, especially one who's abandoned them, then they're getting fed all these narratives about their father. It's ultimately not fair for the child. It is shaping their perception about someone and taking away their ability to make those decisions for themselves when they're older. Because by the time they're old enough to come out of the fog of the stuff that their mom has spewed to them, it's going to be too late, or it's going to be really hard to repair those damages. That's really heartbreaking. However, for Rose to say that they spend every summer at their father's house, it doesn't really make sense. There's a lot of missing holes, but it's really sad at the heart of it for the children. Kids should never be brought into co-parenting debates. It's not their responsibility to guilt trip the parent into doing something. It's weaponizing your children against your ex. And that's not ever okay to do. And getting assaulted themselves. That sort of stuff should not be public knowledge. And it is. And that's the dangers of posting your children and your dirty laundry, your marriage, your parenting all online. But if we think about it through the lens of the father, the excommunicated father, there's no redemption arc for him. With the amount of stuff that Rose is seemingly putting into the boys' heads, alienating them from him and all that stuff, there's no coming back from that because the boys are going to be so resentful by the time that they're out of that fog. Also, he could just be a total deadbeat who doesn't give a shit and doesn't want to be a part of his kids' lives. Always a possibility, right? But we just don't know. And if we take a step back for a moment and think about what is being posted, none of this should be public information. And what it's doing is it's setting Rose and Brett up for a very hard social media presence, but it's also setting the boys up to fail in their future. With all this dirty laundry aired on the internet and an image of them that's being created based on the content that their mom puts forth or being associated with this woman who is erratic online, well, it's so messed up. It's so not fair for the kids. And at the end of the day, kids cannot consent to being posted online. These boys probably have no idea what kind of repercussions can come from them getting involved in parenting debacles online. Or what about getting involved in the DV accident, trying to break that up? And even if their dad is a POS deadbeat, Rose is still taking away her boys' ability to decide when they're old enough if they want to be a part of their dad's lives or not, by putting all of this stuff in their head and by shaping the way they view their father, the way they view men. And that's interesting because of the way Rose views men and men of color. And ultimately, that's really sad for the boys. And the boundary between what's acceptable to be posted online and what's not acceptable is it's non-existent. So now we're getting into some more of the heavier stuff. CPS came to visit 4 times while they were living in Hawaii. I had a really hard time finding receipts for this deep dive. Like I said, Rose scrubbed her entire live content from existence, all of it. Just gone. She also managed to get her Kween of Kings Reddit taken down. So I am lucky that I did find a few people who have content about it, who have been keeping up with it, and I can now confirm that CPS was called. Some people are saying that it appears that Rose's boys aren't gaining any weight. In my opinion, that's not a good enough reason to call CPS. It's very hard to check if maybe they had a growth spurt. They grew up, not out. Maybe they're just naturally skinny, very active kids. Calling CPS because a kid looks skinny isn't okay. It's just bogging down the CPS system and overwhelming a system that's already so severely capped. And that kind of brings us into our next topic, which is when the CPS agent went to visit Rose and do a home check. She walks in, Rose is all nice and dandy, and the moment the door clicks shut, Rose flips a switch and starts absolutely berating her audience. completely, just trashing them. Wild.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I want to take a picture of your refrigerator and your
absolutely.
and your thing, so
Yeah.
that there's food.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they're saying there's no food.
Yeah, I know. Here,
Race, come over here, sweetie.
grab the baby.
Can you go over here?
Refrigerator, baby. Open the refrigerator.
Yeah. So I want to take a picture. Oh, okay. Come on, sweetie. Open this up. Open this up. Yeah, and then open up the Okay. Go closer. Go closer. There you go. All right. Can you open up the fridge?
Felicia, man, bitch. You will never. You stupid bitch.
Listen to what she's saying. This is what she's telling Rose to call CPS and report her. Listen.
I want you to do
Yes.
before you guys leave.
Yes. Stop
So
crazy.
remember the number that you've always been calling us
Yeah.
today?
Yeah.
To report me. What I want you to do is report me saying that Jackie came by again today.
Yeah.
So me and the kids
Mm-hmm.
came by my house,
Mhm.
just like what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
She told me about another report that came in.
Mm-hmm.
This is, and I feel like this is harassment.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're
Absolutely.
allowing
I've
these
debated that
people-
100 times.
allowing these people to report, and
Mhm.
so when she gets the report, she comes to my house.
Yeah.
Tell them that. Tell them that she made a call to me, that she got the report.
Mhm.
Tell them Jackie you file a complaint
Yeah.
with my name.
Yeah.
Because you gotta have reverse psychology, because what happens is that you guys are living on Sunday,
Mhm.
they might have another report on the weekend
Yeah.
before you can even.
They will. Yeah.
I'm just letting you know that now.
Mhm.
Call the number that says, I want to file a complaint to the highest, to the
Absolutely,
manager,
yeah.
to her supervisor,
Yeah.
and to her supervisor.
I have multiple times. I told them I was going to sue them. Yeah.
But don't say that.
Oh, okay.
Say that I want to file a verbal report, and if there's any online complaint form, do it.
Okay.
Jackie came by. This is her third or fourth time that came by. She saw my kids. She saw my kids in school.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? There's another worker that came in here. This is the fourth report that I got so far.
Mhm.
3 of those I already
Okay.
addressed
Mhm.
all the complaints.
Mhm.
She's asking me today exactly the same thing she asked the last time.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
That's what you need to do.
Okay.
So that your records, because it's going to be written. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That your record that you did.
First doctor visit was in July. Yeah, for physical.
Oh, okay. And then you
Anyway, they just go through all the thing, the rigmarole of all of it, and then I want you to see the switch. So watch this. So this is the end of the conversation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
So she's like, bye. That's 20 minutes into this conversation.
Bye.
Oh my God. And happy travels.
Thank you.
Happy travel, she says.
Stupid bitches.
Boom, the door, listen to this. The door closes. Watch this. Clicks, and then listen.
Bye.
Oh my God.
Watch the door click. Watch the door click.
Thank you.
Watch. Clicks.
Stupid bitches. Stupid dumb bitches.
Now,
And all the while, her children are just sitting, playing in the next room, or trying to get her attention at one point. She blew up at her audience for upwards of 25 minutes while her children were in the same room, while they were trying to get her attention, while they were trying to tell her to stop and calm down and see if she was okay, and being completely ignored, of course, because she's too busy berating her audience. And one thing a lot of people are sus about is the fact that none of the boys seem to react.
her kids are right there in the room. And you know this is normal behavior for her because they're not even reacting to it. If I were to do this and speak like this in front of my children, they would be terrified. Because like, this is not how dad talks. Now, I say ass and I swear, say damn. Like, we do normal swears in our house, okay? I don't even care if my kids swear to a degree. Right? A little bit. It doesn't bother me, especially when they turn like 15, like especially the older boys. It's like, I don't care if you swear. But like, you know what I'm saying? We swear normal. But if I was doing stupid mother effing bitches and just yelling at a camera, my kids would be terrified. These kids aren't terrified. This is normal for them. So if she's acting like this to strangers online, how do you think she acts to her children when the cameras are off? That's maybe why CPS is being called here. You dumbass. Dumbass.
Leave my mother kids alone, you dumbass bitches.
She's on a balcony and people are likely around listening to her do this. Listen to how you are saying things to strangers on the internet.
Mom's freaking out and swearing at internet people, nobody reacts, which leads you to believe that they are desensitized to this type of chaos or this type of verbal aggression. And that is just so sad for children. They don't even react when their mom is berating people on the internet in front of them. Imagine the level of chaos these kids go through daily to be desensitized to the fact that 1 second their mom was, yes, ma'am. Yes, okay, of course, yes, have a nice day. And the next, completely snapped and livid. Also, speaking on that CPS live stream, why, please, someone tell me why you would live stream a CPS visit. That is so incredibly risky and dangerous and irresponsible. You have over 1 million people. Why would you live stream a CPS visit? And I feel like she did because she was so confident that they would come and find nothing and just come and check and leave, which I'm pretty sure is about what happened. But even at that, no matter how confident you are, that is a choice. And I understand maybe recording a CPS visit for legal reasons and to make sure that you have your bases covered, but live streaming it when you can't control what happens on your end and then it's gonna be clipped. You know people were recording that. It was a CPS visit that you went live for. It just makes no sense, which circles back to some things shouldn't be posted online, period. Such a dangerous game to play. Even during the live when she was berating people, she was holding her baby at one point, just completely popping off at people in the live while her baby was right here.
You just have too much time on your hands.
She goes rants and just re-rants, probably says the thing over and over and over again. Listen, she got her kid in her arms now.
Yeah, I'm not crying over these. Are you seriously still getting him out? Stop, don't touch him. I'm not crying over these. Miserable. Be
careful with your baby on a balcony, please.
Each one of these bitches are miserable as fuck.
Does this look normal to anybody? While she's sitting here ranting, calling people bitches and mother effing this, while holding a baby? Am I out to lunch? Am I the one messed up here?
Including the baby daddy's ex-wife. That's one miserable ass bitch. That's one miserable ass bitch.
That sounds nice.
Like, they are all miserable as a mother. Leave me alone. Leave my kids alone. Are y'all pedophiles? Like, you will never be able to touch my kids. You want to have my kids?
Listen to what she's saying right now. People concerned, so they're pedophiles. And never probably realizes that there are actual secret pedophiles watching her kids in the content. Doesn't care about those guys. But she's gonna, see, they'll project it and they'll be like, oh, you're a pedophile. Like, no proof of it, and just saying that because they're trying to hurt them.
You want my kids to be yours? Send online to my nephew. Are y'all really that delusional? My kids are no kin to you guys. My kids are no kin to you. My kids are no kin to you.
Keep saying no kin to you.
They will never be any kin to you. Why do you want to be family with my kids if you don't like their mother? Y'all are weird. Go say somebody else's kid.
Screaming, swear words, and profanity at her phone with her baby in her arms. It's just wild.
But she had something very interesting to say during that rant on that live. Take a listen, y'all.
If you feel that my kids are in danger, please just call. You can call CPS and you call CPS and call CPS. You can call the police. I'm telling you, please do. Don't ever hesitate to call CPS and to call the police when you feel that someone's kids are in danger.
When you said this opened up a whole can of worms. This invited people to view your life as if they needed to catch anything out the way. They wanted to make sure you lived this excellent life that you claim, or else once you step out of line, they were going to make that call.
If we take a step back for a second, I understand the frustration that would come from unjustified CPS calls visits, especially if it was internet trolls who you feel know nothing about your situation, your kids, or whatever, despite you posting everything to the internet. I don't know how much room for guessing is left, but okay. But I understand how that can get really frustrating, especially if it's the third, fourth time that this has happened and they've never found anything and yada, yada, yada. But CPS would not continue to come back if they didn't have reason to. They wouldn't come back a second, third, fourth time if they completely closed your case. So obviously, the case isn't completely closed. There are still red flags, enough red flags that CPS is coming to visit. And it's not acceptable to randomly call on people. But for Rose to sit there and not take any accountability, zero, for her potential missteps, for her downfalls, for her ups, to sit there and berate live people, be like, see, I told you, and not take any accountability for the reason that CPS came knocking at your door is a wildly irresponsible take. Her boys will see this content that she put forth. They will understand how their childhood was because of their mother, and they are going to despise her for it. And now, allegedly, after the 4th CPS visit and the DV incident, they left Hawaii and fled back to the mainland. A lot of people say this is in order to avoid CPS and kind of get out of their grasp. There really needs to be a level of privacy, some things that can be held sacred, and not everything needs to be normalized or shared to the internet. Can we please just hone in on this? I don't think it's that hard, and I don't know why it's that hard for people to understand that not everything needs to be content, especially if it's stuff that can affect your children or your audience long term. Now, moving on to something that I found really interesting from the Tasha K interview, which, yes, we are going to be referencing a ton. It was an hour and 45-minute interview, and there was a lot of bombshells. A lot of bombshells dropped. She said things like, I feel like when women have babies, their hormones are all out of whack.
Baby daddy at the time being 20, that's a decision that y'all both made, and like you said, y'all both made that. Is it fair to put it on him that he is the reason as to why, you guys went south, why he's not able to afford to take care of the kids? Could you have been just as equally kind of toxic in that relationship as well, too?
Absolutely. I feel like women, and it's not something that's talked about enough at all, especially in the Black community. When we have babies, after our hormones are so out of whack. And so when I was with him, I had a baby. And then a year later, I have a baby, postpartum again. So I'm like going through things that he can't understand, doesn't know how to try to understand. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely. I'm not him and like the past, like that's neither here nor there to me. Like that's really not a big deal to me. My thing is we're 30, 32, like take care of your kids. Okay. That's
but he's doing that, even though, but he's working a job so that he can pay child support, correct? So
he's working a job because he has to work a job because it's America. He won't be able to provide for himself if he wasn't working a job. So after I put him on child support, we went a whole year without him paying anything. Like, can you hear me?
It's okay. Yeah, I can hear you. I was just taking off.
And I genuinely feel that this is a small glimpse into her struggles with her mental health and just how long that she's been struggling. And it also kind of alludes to the fact that the chaos with her ex-partner and the incompatibility and all the crap with him, he might not be the only bad guy in this situation, is what I'm trying to say. So theoretically, it's this beautiful redemption arc with Brett stepping in to save the day, to be a stable dad for the boys. But the reality is it is super toxic, super messy, and all of the content they put forth is just for show, for fame, for money, who knows? But none of it is actually real. And I feel like the picture behind the highlight reel is very, very dark. And why is all of this inherently harmful? Well, it's exposing the kids to adult chaos, which is something that they should be sheltered from for as long as humanly possible. It's putting that extra pressure and weight on their shoulders, having to deal with adult problems, and takes away from their childhood and their ability to live their childhood out as children. Blurring the boundaries about what's acceptable to bring them into and not when it comes to adult problems can cause long-term emotional trauma and emotional scarring in the children. All the while, the fans are consuming it as content for entertainment. That's something that public figures need to be aware of with what they are showing fans as acceptable parenting, as acceptable to accept in a relationship. Because regardless of if these people think they have influence over people or not. With over 1 million subscribers, you absolutely have a ton of powerful influence on people. And now we're here encouraging this chaos, encouraging berating people on live, encouraging staying in a partnership that has DV. That's not okay to do as public figures. I'm pretty sure the reason that CPS would have shown up at their house is because of some of the allegations that allegedly multiple times her boys were caught on live begging for food and water, saying that they were hungry, they were thirsty. One of her vlogs also was literally titled Rose neglects her kids or neglected her kids, something like that. Even if it's fake, even if it's clickbait, why the F would you post that to the internet? Why would you put yourself in that kind of position?
If you feel that my kids are in danger, please just call. You can call CPS and you call CPS and you call CPS.
And obviously it's clickbait, but why would you do that? Especially as someone getting constant CPS calls. Now, that might have been more recently in 2024, all 4 CPS visits, but going back in your content and seeing videos titled like that it's a choice, I guess you could say, and it's just not okay. Her kids are suffering the consequences of her irresponsible parenting and irresponsible decision making. And it amazes me that she takes all of this as a joke, all of this as trolls just being trolls versus taking any form of accountability. Even a little bit of accountability was not taken, which you just have to ask yourself. Do you genuinely think that she doesn't think this will affect her kids long term? Do you think she genuinely thinks that? Or do you think she knows that it's definitely going to affect them long term, but just doesn't give an F? Because realistically, do you think the kids enjoy getting CPS visits? I mean, hopefully they don't realize why this person's there or necessarily who this person is. Oh, wait. No, they do know because her older kids are old enough to hear the words that she was saying while berating the people on live video. That's the kind of chaos that these children live in and day out, the kind of mother that they have to deal with. And imagine being a little kid in that kind of chaotic dynamic, having to walk on eggshells because you never know when your mom's gonna flip a switch because she is so unpredictable. And again, she has been really open and honest about her struggles with her mental health. So is this unpredictable nature a sign of someone struggling really deeply with their mental health? Or is it someone who is just, that's her personality? She's belligerent, she's wild, she's flip-floppy, she's got a short fuse. So as I said earlier, when we were talking on people alleging that CPS needs to come visit because the boys are skinny. Now, appearance isn't necessarily the greatest indicator of health. It does paint a pretty good picture, but it doesn't give us the whole picture of what's going on internally and what the boys are actually consuming. However, when you have it multiple times on lives, the boys begging for food and water, coming up to her, trying to get her attention while she's on live and being ignored, well, that raises alarm bells that are very, very hard to ignore. So it's like, what? It's so weird to me, I guess. I guess that's what it is. It's really weird to air all this very personal information constantly online. And another huge point of contention that people were really upset about is the fact that Rose and Brett allegedly bought this 3,600 square foot house in Hawaii, probably hella effing expensive, who knows, and it remained unfurnished for the time that they were there. That really shows you where Rose's priorities lie in life. You have kids begging for food and water, you have kids who are disheveled, and you have a mom who's making these frivolous, erratic, impulse buys, very expensive ones, mind you, too. It really shows a lack of prioritization and forethought to set themselves up for success in their day-to-day lives. And that kind of leads us into the materialism and the overconsumption, a plague that haunts today's influencers with this strive to keep on top, to keep up with the newest, with the trending, to appear more wealthy than you actually are. And by prioritizing these luxury items, such as like a $1,600 sweater and Louis Vuitton bags and a brand new Range Rover and moving to Hawaii on a whim. It shows Rose's boys that mommy prioritizes her needs and wants above all else. Nobody else matters. As long as mommy's happy, everyone's allowed to be happy. And she even admits this in her interview with Tasha K, saying that she likes the fancier things in life while Brett is just a farmer who doesn't care for the fancier things in life.
So you desire to have someone a bit more flashy,
No,
like
I
the
don't.
scammers on Instagram.
I desire to have my husband, but what I'm saying is I'm just more flashy than he is. He'd be like, no, we don't. Literally, he'd be like, let's get a minivan. Like, it's time to get a minivan. And
What's wrong with a minivan, girl?
No. I'm just telling you.
You got 19,000 kids. Y'all need a minivan.
How many kids you got, Tasha?
2. And we had a minivan. We got a minivan.
Okay, listen. But he'd be like, no, we don't need this. We need a minivan. He'd be like, no, why are you getting, why do you want Jordans for the boys? We can get some flip-flops.
Right.
Like, why are you getting the Fruity Pebbles? We can get the knockoff Fruity Pebbles. Like,
We used to buy the big bags of fruity Pebbles, the ones they lay on the grocery store, because he know they gonna eat that. What's wrong with that? Food is food.
Nothing is wrong with it. I'm just saying that's how he is. And so no, I'm not saying like that. I desire a different man. I desire my man, honestly and truly.
But you just want a little more.
But yes, so I'm saying he can provide that basic like suburban life. He can, but I desire more. So I gotta go out where he provides the basic necessities of the family. I provide the better, or I come up with thoughts. We as a team provide, but I come up with thoughts for like the betterment of the family. So,
and that just paints one more way which they are completely opposite each other. And I mean, I guess they say opposites attract, I guess. It's almost like she's striving to appear more wealthy or have that look of wealth by buying luxury items or moving to Hawaii, for gosh sakes, which I don't even know. All influencers do this. It is wild to me that you all make the same dumb, irrational impulse decision when all your successors who have done it before you have moved back to the mainland. It's not sustainable unless you're Oprah effing Winfrey, and then you can afford a house in Hawaii. But if you're not that level of rich, it's not sustainable to up and move your family to the most expensive state. And that goes to show what they're doing with their money. All of the money that they're making from exploiting their children, exploiting their relationship online, is being spent frivolously, being liquefied into materialistic things, and these boys are going to have nothing when they grow up, allegedly, because we don't know if she has savings accounts for her boys. But with the spending she does, I know she gets a lot of views, maybe not so much anymore. It leaves no room for question. She bought a house in Hawaii on a whim and then got canceled. But at the heart of all of these extravagant expenditures, at the center of all of it, we have children without beds. We have children begging for food and water on live and settling for TV dinners and dirty clothing.
The next thing that I said is that we don't have clothes. We have too many, you guys. This is how my freaking laundry room always looks. Unfortunately, that has always been my husband and I's biggest argument, is that I have too many clothes and I don't want to let them go. I mean, there's clothes everywhere, and that's not even.
Well, maybe that's why I look like the kids don't have clothes, because all of the clothes are in piles dirty. Okay.
And also having their mother's version of their chaotic life plastered all over the internet for people to consume as entertainment. Which brings us to our biggest takeaway of every video on every family vlogger. Kids cannot give informed consent, and you cannot give all of the information in order for a child to provide you with informed consent. They don't have the capacity to understand the negative impacts that may come from posting this online one day. And you also don't know the impacts that your content, your highly controversial, problematic content, can have on their future. And it's crazy because the more you look, the worse it gets. If you can even believe that it could possibly get worse. We're still only on the parenting section. Remember how we just spoke about, lack of priorities and stuff. Well, add super reckless, irresponsible parenting to the mix, because why not? We just like to pile it on thick here, I guess. But while they were vacationing in Hawaii, I believe before they moved, there's a clip of Rose encouraging her boys to jump at Queen's Bath, which is this beautiful natural tide pool in Kauai, Hawaii, and it's carved out of like the lava shelf and stuff. It's really, really pretty. It's a beautiful hour-long hike, I believe. It's a really nice place to have a swim as long as it's open to the public, which it's not right now. It's actually closed. But if you're going to Hawaii on season, 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Based on the pictures, I've never been to Hawaii. Anyway, while hiking with her kids, they got to this point and she was encouraging them to jump into the water, and then admitted like she would never do that, which if you look at the pictures that I've shown you so far, it is rock pools. You can't know what's underwater for the most part. So to encourage your children to jump into a rock pool, why would you encourage your children to do that? And then later on, Brett tells her to stop being a helicopter parent. Why does he tell her this? Well, because she's supervising her children swimming.
I have mad anxiety because Brett is making me stop being a helicopter mom, which I'm not really. I don't call myself a helicopter mom. There's some serious helicopter moms out there, but I do protect my kids. And he's like, babe, let them grow up. Like, they're 7 and 8. We put them in swimming lessons. Roz is very mature, and he's going to look after his little brother. Let him play, and we can watch them from the balcony. But I'm like, Roz, don't go under there. Roz, check this. Roz, check that. But the nice thing about here is they can go and play, and we don't have to go, like, right down there with them.
Yeah. Public figures labeled people as helicopter parents if they supervise their children while swimming. Are you serious right now? Brett, bring it in, Brett, so you can hear me properly. That's dumb. Kids can drown in seconds, minutes, in 2 inches of water. You guys have 4 boys. Boys are rambunctious. They like to jump. They like to be silly. They like to play rough. What if one of them hits their head and you're across the house, probably banging one out or something? Who knows? What if one of them hits their heads? You only have minutes to get back there. Freak accidents happen. They're boys. They're rambunctious. Not supervising your children while they are swimming, regardless of how old they are or how good of swimmers they are, is highly irresponsible. And to promote that as public figures and also label parents who do supervise their children as something negative, as bad as a helicopter parent who's just paranoid, is absolutely next level. Give your freaking heads a shake and realize the power and influence you have over people. So now let's touch back on mental health. Now, you remember when I played the clip earlier with Rose speaking about how women postpartum, their hormones are a little out of whack. They can act a little crazy, a little bit. Well, I found a couple clips too where she's admitted to not wanting another child. And I believe this was after they had Race, before they had River. But Rose said that she really didn't want to have another baby, didn't want to get pregnant again because it messed with her mental health.
Can you imagine I ever thought that I did not want this little guy when I first found out I was pregnant with him, and I did a video stating that I wanted to have an abortion because I just couldn't take it.
So if I'm honest.
And in another vlog, she opens it up by saying she's trying to act happy, but it's so hard because her hormones are all out of whack.
I'm trying very hard to act happy, but I'm very frustrated.
He has caused me quite the strife since day one and continuously. And it's not his fault. It's just the hormone imbalance that comes with motherhood and being a mom that we don't talk about.
Because God knows it can never be herself taking accountability for her own behaviors or actions. It always has to be blamed on something else, like hormones.
Most of it is just my personality, but a lot as far as just like sadness and depression has been due to like hormonal imbalances or just, what your body making a baby and the aftermath of that.
Yeah, there's a chunk of behavior and personality mixed in with with everything we do, but the excess and the extremes of things and the depression and all that stuff is definitely going to be the postpartum, partum hormones that she all went through. This baby has been a tough little thing.
It's possible. I don't know. I was not diagnosed with it, but do I think that my emotions and hormones were out of whack postpartum? 100%. We were also, making that abrupt move. It definitely was some, what are they called? Potholes that we had to, yeah.
Or, when CPS came to visit, it was all the bitchy trolls.
Bitches, stupid, dumb bitches.
We can never take a second and reflect, is it me? Maybe it's me. It gets to a point where it's not just trolls calling for no reason. Let's be real. And like I said earlier, I don't encourage calling CPS. However, what Chad and Kevin Frankie said to us about how the sausage is made when it comes to family vlogging, well,
one of the biggest fears, if not the biggest fear of any family content creator on social media today is having their raw footage somehow leaked, and so that people can see what really goes on behind the camera. These individuals are wanting everyone to believe that their content is uplifting and wholesome and pure, and sure, the final product appears that way, but the making of the sausage, it's ugly.
And I think it's pretty safe to say that with what we've covered so far, Rose is likely no different. And given the fact that she goes off on her audience live, well, that kind of strengthens those other thoughts there. And especially because it was also in front of her kids. Just saying. But here's the thing. Obviously, Rose has been suffering and does suffer from mental health issues. But she's seemingly in denial, or at the very least, refusing to go seek actual proper treatment for her mental health. And the unwillingness of Rose to seek help truly is a ticking time bomb. And it can also be related potentially back to some harmful stereotypes that women of color have had to deal with for generations. But not only is she constantly talking about how her hormones have been all out of whack, also brings up her mental health struggles a lot, which it's good to talk about that stuff. But it's also been going on for countless years now and seemingly not getting any better. And we also have these huge emotional outbursts that are being caught on camera, like the berating the audience on live. And there's also another clip where there's an outburst.
Here it is. Before Hawaii, I didn't tell you guys, right? But here it is. I went psycho and I took a key. I was going through my postpartum depression before I even got to Hawaii, but y'all just really seen it in Hawaii. I took a key and I just stabbed. I tried to ruin and just stabbed all of my steering wheel. So we're going to run to Range Rover really quickly and see how much it costs to get a new steering wheel or how to go about fixing this. Y'all know I'm getting my paint. I'm not gonna lie, I tried to ruin my whole car. So I don't know if y'all seen it. I just got this fixed. This was $650 to get fixed. I just got that fixed like last week. And then I'm gonna get my windows tinted all around my car. I'm getting my car wrapped next week, and I just ordered some super cute pink seat covers. I'm super excited about because I want like the interior pink. So they're really cute.
And the fact that these are all filmed, caught on camera, and happening not just once, is deeply alarming. And in my opinion, it shows glimpses into the mind of a woman who is seriously struggling with her mental health and has been battling it for years now. But even more concerning than all of this is the strong codependence that she seems to have with Brett. She even went so far as to say that she uses him as her anxiety medication, that he knows how to calm her down.
My husband knows that I have anxiety disorder, and so I don't take drugs for it. I think it will help for sure, taking anxiety medicine for it, but I just don't. But he's my anxiety medicine. Like whenever I have anxiety attacks a little bit too often, and so when I do, I just need him to be like, you're good. It's okay, babe. He calms my heart rate down. Like he calms me down. So like, even like I'll sit in the shower and he'll just be there. He genuinely helps me. So he knows, I was emotional. Like he understands me. And I think that's the thing of finding somebody that truly understands you.
When Rose brought this up during her interview, she was told, well, maybe you should go get help then for your mental health, which she immediately deflects, saying she's in therapy and her therapist knows, and is just completely in denial about it all.
No, absolutely not. I told them that I have anxiety disorder, which I do have. I've been what is it called? prescribed medications for anxiety disorder, but my subscribers know that I don't take drugs. Like I'm not into any medication. My husband knows that I have anxiety disorder, and so I don't take drugs for it. I think it will help for sure. Taking anxiety medicine for it, but I just don't.
Essentially refusing to seek actual help and treatment for her mental health and get better. It kind of gave me the vibes of what we talked about in the Nika Diwa deep dive, where she weaponizes those insecurities against everyone for content. And that one that she posted that she's scared to go to therapy because it'll fix her sparkle or whatever she said, ridiculous. Because if your sparkle is genuinely you, and not your super toxic traits popping out, then therapy isn't going to fix your sparkle. Just saying, guys. I'm pretty sure the goal of therapy is to fix the toxic traits, not fix the traits that make you, you. And to post that and perpetuate that stigma is so harmful. It is so irresponsible for public figures to do that because their fans see that, internalize those feelings, and think that they shouldn't go get therapy because it's going to fix them or break them or whatever. It's not okay. Influencers, public figures need to realize that their words have power and they're important. So for these women to be sitting here on powerful platforms and saying things like, I'm not going to therapy because it'll fix me, it'll dull my sparkle or whatever, is wildly irresponsible and perpetuates the stigma and makes it harder for people who want to seek help to seek help. And here's one thing that I learned while I was researching is this resistance to seeking help is actually due to generational trauma. Did you guys know that women of color are 50% less likely to seek medical help? Even more so when it comes to mental health help. This is due in large part by the stigmatization surrounding mental health that our society has created for years now. But it's also really closely linked to another really harmful schema that women of color have had to shoulder for generations now, and that is the strong Black woman schema. And this is basically an archetype of how women of color should act. It's characterized by 3 different components: emotional restraint, independence, and caretaking. And listen to how contradictory this is. Strong Black women need to hold back their emotions in order to not appear weak, portray themselves as strong and independent, all while being responsible for everyone around them, their problems, and taking care of those problems. This stereotype stems all the way back to the days of enslaved women, and it grew from the intersectional oppression that Black women face from society's expectations. The notion that as women, they need to uphold this feminine standard, but as Black women, they must balance that with the responsibility of being emotionally and physically strong, which is also known as intersectionality. And this schema actually stems from other tropes which uphold traits and archetypes used to depict women of color in media over the ages. One of those tropes is the angry Black woman, also known as the sapphire, which we'll cover a little bit later on in the relationship section, but this serves as kind of the base of that SBW trope. And due to that underlying aggressive nature of this stereotype, it's often used as comedic relief in media and shows, such as in Amos and Andy, where you had Sapphire, who was constantly berating her husband. But this stereotype negatively affects how women of color's emotions and feelings are addressed, especially in healthcare, which is why they are, as I said, up to 50% less likely to go and seek out help. And I honestly couldn't even imagine that on top of the already overwhelming stigmatization that comes with seeking out mental health help. You have that whole added layer of preconceived notions and stereotypes and everything that is already shaping biases of medical professionals, of doctors. That is, I'm sorry that you guys have to go through that. I couldn't even imagine. It's already hard enough to get help. On top of that, you have this added layer of complexity. Like, no, it's not okay. And it makes me so sad, and it breaks my heart that we are here in 2025 and there's still so much suffering going on and stigmatization. But realistically, Rose is perpetuating these harmful stereotypes in the content that she puts forth. And she also acts a lot on these stereotypes. For example, when she was degrading her husband live about their finances. Your marriage off the internet. And this could be due in large part from the generational trauma, her childhood, her upbringing that led us to where we are today. But it's just so incredibly messy. And then looking at the untreated postpartum depression, well, this can fuel that dysfunction. Not only will this kind of avoidance affect her children, it will also affect her audience who can potentially mimic this type of avoidance for seeking out mental health help. Rose can do it on her own, therefore I can do it on my own type thing. I can do this without help. I don't need help. And I found an article that summarizes the risks of untreated postpartum depression really nicely. The stigma regarding mental health can often prevent patients from seeking help, but postpartum depression that goes untreated can have lasting impacts on a parent, child, and their entire family unit. Some patients will turn to substances to manage their symptoms, but experts say that this is a dangerous and common coping mechanism. Alcohol is one of the most commonly turned to substances, followed by cannabis because it's become so mainstream, Hale says. This kind of substance abuse can have lasting impacts on the family. It can also lead to a disconnect between parent and child developmental issues. And of course, personal health risks. Suicide and overdose are the two most common reasons women die in the first year postpartum, Hale says. It's important that we speak up when we see concerning behavior. So for Rose to be vocalizing that she is actively avoiding seeking professional help for her mental health, it is deeply concerning when it comes to the long-term happiness and overall well-being of herself and her family. Even if it's not necessarily surprising based on the generational trauma that's been thrust upon her and that she's been forced to carry. And then on top of it all, you have Brett who's shrugging it all off as, oh, she's just tired, she needs a break, she's overwhelmed. Well, yeah, maybe, but for you to say that and then dip out on them for 2 months, well, that's putting your kids in a super vulnerable position and setting them up for a completely chaotic time. If you know your wife is struggling, if you know she's having a hard time, why are you not stepping up? You're just gonna wait for her to completely run herself down, burn out, and end up in the hospital? Like, come on. But this codependence with Brett and treating him as her anxiety med not only has the potential to cause emotional burnout in Brett, but it can cause a extremely unstable and toxic home environment given Rose's unpredictable nature, where the kids are living in fear of her next emotional outburst. And we have to remember, at the center of all of this chaos are the children. They are the ones that are caught in the unpredictableness of these emotional outbursts, of this flip-floppy type behavior. Between their mom's untreated mental health struggles and Brett's passivity towards everything, the kids are left in a vulnerable, toxic situation. And if Rose is suffering from these mental health battles and her husband is so passive about it, and she's using him as her anxiety medication and all of these things, well, that kind of gives a look into just how toxic their relationship really is. And I think it is time to move on to the next section, the relationship red flags. This isn't just a family living in chaos. It's a family with children who are being exploited, a relationship that's being exploited. Like I told you guys earlier, their first vlog was coupled, interracial couples, was coupled? Did I say that? Was called Interracial Couples First Vlog. And when I tell you guys that the vibes were Akko Taco, I am not exaggerating. Because oh my gosh, were the vibes ever off. Yikes. She would make kind of comments like, oh, I'm so cute today. You don't even know what to do with me. Where she was met with a stone wall silence.
Babe, I literally look so cute today. You wouldn't even know what to do with me. I had on these boots, but my feet started hurting. So I took them on. I'm gonna put on these sandals instead. But I still look so cute, don't I? Do you even know what to do with me?
Ridiculous. And then when they're back at the apartment trying on the new clothes that she bought for her dusty king Brett that fit her image, of course, you know, not his style or comfort or anything. It's got to be Rose's image, Rose's level of perfection, right? Because clearly graphic tees and board shorts were just not fancy enough for her. She needed more. But you could tell that he was reluctantly trying on all this stuff, that he didn't want to do this. She was trying to like get him to talk or get him to say things and was met with just nothingness.
Come on, baby. What did you just say? I'm not going to tell you again. Try it on. Please. Look, these are expensive. Oh yeah, that's another thing. His clothes are very expensive. I only got 4 items, but it was like $200. With me, if I get 4 items, it's not gonna be $200. It's gonna be like 8 items. Come on. Try it on. Stand up. It's 40 by 36. Supposed to be, I don't know. It just says 40. I don't know, lady help me. Come on, the lady help me. I don't know how to do this.
She said it was light when she grabbed those?
Yeah. Babe, what is a douchebag?
What the fuck that is?
Oh my gosh, he is so ridiculous. Like, babe, you can't say nothing with the pants that you be wearing, okay?
Pants that we wearing are not bedazzled.
They're not bedazzled, but you gotta get your style together, okay, honey bunny? Okay.
He was being stubborn, and then there was these snarky, snapey back and forth comments. Wild. But you can kind of see now even how she's making stabs at his shoe size a lot and making stabs at the fact that he prefers to wear shorts and not jeans. So, you know, she has to see his ankles, and it's like, okay. There was this tone of sarcasm, but it wasn't just like playful back and forth banter. It was more like these sarcastic jabs of, you're not good enough, your style isn't good enough, and here, I'm going to help you be better.
He provides the basic necessities of the family. I provide the better. I come up with thoughts for like the betterment of the family.
And it's so ridiculous because even in the vlog, she says, oh, he's really picky. I don't think he'll like what I chose and yada, yada, yada.
First of all, he's very picky, so he might not like none of this.
Well, then why are you buying clothes for him? Like, just let the man dress himself. Let him pick out his own clothes and dress himself. The dynamic and the forcing and the trying to change and it's just weird, I guess. And it just feels like right off the hop, they were mismatched and there was something off about their relationship or tense about their relationship. She wants a certain aesthetic and he's not about it. She's a big fancy gal and he's a farmer from, I don't know, Ohio or something like that. So you're starting to see the difference in values as well. Values in materialistic items, values in possessions versus what actually matters. With that awkward peek into the behind the scenes into their life, I want to talk to their how we met story time, and you guys can let me know if their relationship is a walking red flag from the beginning or if this is a really cutesy story time, because I might have gotten it wrong. I'm fully okay admitting that I get things wrong sometimes. I don't like to get things wrong, so I try really hard not to, but when I do, it's like, okay, fine, got me there.
Merci.
Say, go.
Please.
Quoi?
Tab.
Tab? Okay, merci.
Mickey.
Yes, I did, Mickey. So their how we met story starts by Rose showing up to a club where Brett already was with his buddy, with her boyfriend, partner, husband, I don't know, at the time.
I was in a nightclub with my boyfriend at the time, but I knew right then and there that he was going to be my ex-boyfriend because we went to have a good time. And he was very stuck up. He was a Filipino guy.
Plus, you saw something better.
No, I don't just leave my partner for something
2 seconds in the front door. Who the hell is that?
No, I was actually.
I was batting off girls left and right, like I normally do.
I was having a great time with my ex-boyfriend, and then no, I wasn't. I was having a great time with myself because I always have a great time with myself. But he was just being so ugly and just so uptight, and I'm like, yeah, you're not down to earth enough for me. So,
and casually, she ends up slipping Brett her number.
I put my number on a napkin and I gave it to him.
To which there was a large back and forth as to whether or not it was crumpled up or ripped up.
And he ripped it up and he threw it in the garbage.
He didn't rip it. He crumpled.
You said he ripped it.
I fully, honestly can't remember, but
because you told me
if he did, he gave it a rip and I could see the numbers.
I think he ripped it and he threw it away. And Brett said...
But they end up chalking it up to the fact that his friend assumed that they wouldn't be compatible and was trying to, save Brett the hassle. Basically saw Rose as a walking red flag and said, dude, don't get involved. Maybe should have listened. Essentially thinking that they aren't going to work out because Brett usually dates big boobed blonde bimbos with Botox, and Rose dates black men with long dreads.
So let's be real about it. You and your buddy were very used to dating Caucasian girls with big boobs and Botox and
he's
kind of
Pakistani.
situation. Yeah,
he does date.
Right.
He does date blondes only.
Yeah, let's think about the girl that he was absolutely in love with. Had the big, huge fake titties,
she's Italian,
the humongous Botox. So I think that was definitely a factor too, and why he ripped my number up. Like he didn't think that Brett was interested at all.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just tossed in the trash.
She's not gonna be interested.
Their words, not mine. Reddit dubbed this as cock blocking, which is hilarious. I love Reddit sometimes. Basically stating that obviously you guys aren't each other's type. So you already have that mismatch in attraction preferences, which is fine. People can change their mind. It's still something to be mindful of when you're starting a new partnership. And if your friend's like, no, bro, don't do it. Don't do it, dude. Don't do it. Maybe we should listen. It's kind of a red flag, especially for a friend to call it out right away. And also, mind you, she was dating someone at this point, so why is she going and slipping other guys' numbers? I don't understand. Maybe there's context, maybe there's dynamic, maybe she was gonna break up with him soon anyway. And also, maybe then his friend was like, Brett, she's with a guy. The guy is there. We saw the guy. Why are you taking her number? That's red flags right there. You're gonna see all the red flags. And I genuinely don't understand how these two people ended up together, or really why they ended up choosing each other and staying together and having kids together and sticking it out when they're clearly just so not for each other. And that makes you think that maybe it was all for the image that it created versus, an actual loving relationship. And then there's all sorts of other things throughout the video. Brett says, I don't date women longer than 3 months. Never have.
Yeah, I was kind of a dick, to be honest, because I was like, I don't date people more than 3 months. So Rose put on her best behavior for 3 months.
Huh?
What?
No, I did not. I was 100% me as always.
And then 3 months and 2 days, I was like, oh shoot. But no.
Rose he really did say that stupid ass shit, y'all. Like, I don't date people more than 3 months.
And mind you, he's like 10 years older than Rose. So it's like, dude, grow up. You're not in your 20s anymore. Like, I'm pretty sure he was already in his 30s at this point. Okay, stop. So all of that coupled with their first vlog where she prefers him in jeans and he prefers shorts and she doesn't, and she wants him to dress this way and he wants to dress this way, and all of it screams mismatched personalities. People who should not be together. People who are not compatible. That's what all of this screams. And it almost got romanticized as this like shaky start to strong success type narrative until everything came crumbling down. And fans ate it up. Okay. And circling back to Rose chose this guy for the image. He's this big buff white man who's gonna save me from this horrible toxic relationship that I'm currently in right now. And the constant focus on interracial couple this, interracial couple that, white man, white king, white. It's 97% of their content. And it gets to a point where it feels less like a niche and more like using it for views. And over time, she really painted Brett as this guy who dug her out of the trenches of this horrible toxic relationship, of this horrible life that she was living up until now. Someone who saved her. Until the financial debacle of July 2024, they posted that he bought her the Range Rover, that he bought the house in Hawaii, that he is the one who buys everything, only for Rose to go live and say that she has fronted their entire lifestyle up until this point.
I met you in a basement laying on a mattress. Let's be real about that. Let's be real about the fact that you moved in with me, not the opposite of way around. Let's be real about the fact that I never felt comfortable moving to your house because you lived in the ghetto. Let's be real about the fact that I'm the one that found the house, found the realtor, did all the footwork, did everything, paid for the deposit on the house, paid for the house, everything. Let's be real about that. Let's be real about everything. Since you want to say, let's put it on live. You're the one that told me to put it on live.
It's about your daughter. You went to Minnesota or whatever your baby mother is from, and you've been nothing but a deadbeat to your daughter. You knew your daughter, you knew where she was, you did not try at all whatsoever. Let's be honest about the fact that I'm the one that made you see. I'm the one that made you see your daughter. Let's be honest about the fact that when I met you, you was lying about that the fact that you had a daughter. Let's be honest about the fact that you are a literal how angry I got when I found out that you can't see that little girl, and I told you to go and get a lawyer and go fight for your daughter, literally pissed off that you wouldn't fight for your daughter. Let's be honest about the fact that you lie and say she was a one-night stand, but your mother even told me that y'all was together. Let's be very honest. Remember in Iowa, you literally have a police report because you did what? You did what? Yes, you did. Why did they take the gun in Iowa? Move. Get away from me. Get away from me. Don't come near me at all whatsoever. Yeah, don't come near me because let's not come near me. Let's not pretend that I'm the one that paid the down deposit on our house. Let's not pretend that I'm not the one that paid for the range. I'm the one that paid for this whole life that we live. Let's not pretend that. Let's not pretend. Let's not pretend. Oh, okay. Let's not pretend. Let's just be very, very real. You told me to put it on. Let's be real about the fact that I paid for the Range Rover. The fact that I paid for everything.
And then what was so interesting after
she was so incredibly demeaning towards him during that live, and Tasha K clocked her behavior hardcore, saying you completely emasculated your husband on live.
As the big dick white Jesus savior that he was, and then you turned around and emasculated that man before the black man that wanted you to do it. Why did you make that video? He's standing there holding the baby and you telling him, don't act like I'm not the one that put down on this house. Don't act like it's not my money that keeps us afloat. Don't act like I'm not the one that pay all the bills. Like you really dragged him like how we drag some of these sorry ass black men out here.
Regardless of if you were drunk, because that's how she tries to play it off, which another YouTuber, fantastic quote, drunk words are sober thoughts.
Like they say, a drunk mind does speak sober thoughts.
Just throwing it out there. Regardless of if you're mad at your husband or pissed or anything, you don't jump on live and emasculate him and berate him. And it's not okay to invite people into your marriage. That is never going to end well. And after that is when Rose decided to start faking everything, allegedly, including the separation.
I made a decision to fake separate from my husband because at this point, the fakeness started on the video that said we separated.
And come September 2024, when the DV incident happened, that's what she fell back on. Oh, it was all fake. It's not true, when there's literally an arrest record for it. What? There are ways to communicate your frustration without demeaning the person you're talking to or berating them. Versus taking any type of accountability, she shrugs it off and says, I apologized for it, like it is what it is, which you didn't apologize for it. You said that we all misunderstood and gaslit everyone. You didn't apologize.
But like I said, I apologize. but I'm not like overly beating myself up the way that you got, not you, but like the internet would like me to.
And paints it up to her just being an emotional woman who was drinking, who was trying to upset her husband. Also, super, super gross. If you're upset about something that someone did or whatever, to go out of your way to try and cause distress in that person is so toxic and gross. And within a day or two of the live going viral, she posted a video or went live again saying that, no, guys, Brett does pay for stuff. Here's our house deed. Here's his paychecks. Basically trying to backtrack.
Getting tired of the internet calling her husband broke, Rose made a video saying, hey, I was just yelling out of anger. My husband is not a dusty. He does make 6 figures.
If you want to do your own just like quick research, then you'll find out that my husband owns the home that he purchased for us, $500,000 house. And if you are aware with the home buying process, you know, the underwriter do not play about having that money, 2 years at least of that money shown on paper. That's why I am not on the home loan, because I didn't qualify actually at the time, and I am on the title. My husband bought me a house, so. I know some of you guys are unfamiliar with the home buying process, but if he was broke, then he would not be able to buy a house. That's why, again, I am not on the home loan, but I am on the title. The title is the owner of the house, and the home loan is who is responsible for making payments, because the underwriter sees that they're able to do so. So my husband is on the loan, and both of us, my husband and I, are on the title. So again, he bought me a house. So just stop with like your husband's broke stuff and you're taking care of him. Me and my husband were in an argument, and I was drinking and emotional, and I said whatever I felt like saying to make him upset. Was it right? No. Should I have not done it publicly? Absolutely. But like just dead like your husband's broke stuff. I got so many black men in my inbox right now talking about your husband's broke and you're taking care of a white man. We both make 6 figures. So try again, my love. Again, I love all men, but it's just the amount of a certain group of people that's in my inbox right now talking about, you know, whatever the case, when it's like, okay, a woman gets emotional and she argues with her husband and you take that and run with it. Okay, good, like go off. But I guess like this is public records. You could just do like your own research. I am not on the home loan. Why? Because I could not afford it at all whatsoever. My husband is
a classic case of damage control. And a lot of people are thinking of this moment as the moment Rose was waiting for, having painted him up all this time, all these years, only to publicly humiliate him and tear him back down again. And if that's true, that is some wildly twisted manipulation and fucked up behavior right there. But she did this knowing that he was clearly dusty from the beginning, for the look, for the aesthetic of it all, for the interracialness. Because why would you possibly get with a man who possesses all of those same qualities that you claim to hate so much in the men of your own race?
I prefer them based on their morals and their values, and it's just different.
Why would you do that? Why would you get with a man who seemingly is a deadbeat, who doesn't help out, who doesn't support you, who you have to support, change his look and aesthetic, and fund your entire relationship?
So white men have better morals and values than black men, and white men,
I believe,
were
but
the
I want to say African American.
So white men were the creators of the slave trade, but they have better morals and values.
But people were not about to let this go, because Rose built her entire brand as painting Brett as being this savior, as having saved her and got her out of the trenches.
And surrounding their interracial relationship and their blended family. Rose specifically loves to brag about how she leveled up from being a black man's baby mama to marrying a well-off provider white man who moved her to Hawaii, spoils her, bought her a house and a Range Rover. Basically, she made her followers believe that she was getting that pasta and lobster and then some. However, this fight that she had with her husband on live shows otherwise.
And people felt extremely betrayed and shocked by these allegations that Rose came out with. And ultimately, it's a huge breach of trust because she said he bought the Range Rover. She said he bought the house and buys her gifts and buys her all this stuff. She painted him in this light. So to turn around and say that I made one payment and I was upset that I made one payment on it.
As far as my Range Rover go, I made a payment on my Range Rover. He put down the down payment and I made a payment and I was pissed that I made a payment. So I brought it up. So what? Small shit to like married people know, like it's so really
What do you choose to believe? You can't just say one thing and act a different way, or say the opposite and pray that it all goes away. Words have power. Drunk words are sober thoughts. So I don't think that her being drunk can be used as an excuse of her being deceptive. Drunk people aren't smart enough to be deceptive like that or have that reverse psychology play out properly. It just doesn't work that way. And given all of this, you have to question, why would Rose end up settling with Brett, a man who possesses all of the negative qualities that she despises in men of color, specifically African American men. And I feel like that's all the image that Rose is trying to portray with her platform. This woman who has successfully divested, who has all these luxury items, who's living a great life, who's stable. She wants to be an inspiration to people, an aspirational person to look up to. And that is the image that she's tried so hard to create. Yet she has all of these toxic traits and admitted out loud that everything has been a lie, because we can't just magically believe her that she just, after the financial dispute, started lying about everything, that everything before that was 100% truthful. It doesn't work that way. You tell people that you've been lying, they're going to assume that absolutely everything was a lie, right down to the reason you're with your husband. And after the financial dispute, the interview, just a couple months later, they were involved in a DV incident where Brett was arrested for 9 hours before Rose later dropped the charges. And he came waltzing back into their home, which is insanely irresponsible and sad and ridiculous, because she even said after the DV incident that he was trying to put her 6 feet under.
If a man almost kills you and he's double your size and you find a way to escape, always call the police. Call the police. Call the police.
There's allegations that he attacked her eldest son too, who tried to get into the middle of this, and it looked like he was strangling him.
5 minutes and 1 second, and I'm gonna just let it go. Y'all see, it's quick. It's very quick. And then there's more commotion. You see a blue arm pop up, and then you really don't see anything else. You don't really see nothing else. I have 16 minutes of this video. It was 56 minutes. So I have another video of, you can see like, it's a video and it's like, you can see the police at the end of it, which it does look like a police uniform. It was definitely a police uniform, y'all. Brett is in jail. Family abuse. This is ridiculous. I'm gonna slow it down for y'all in 1 second. See the blue arm come up to protect his mama. Child, that's that boy that is that Raiden? Is that his name? Raiden? That's the one that told Champagne to leave his mama alone. Honey, here we go. I slowed it down a little bit. Y'all see Brett run up on her? Literally. That dude ran up on, I couldn't think of the movie. What's that movie, y'all? What's that movie? Trying to get a better angle of him running up on her. I was talking about it in my video. It's like You or Us or something like that. Look at this dang on man running up on her. Get out. Thank you. Get out. Girl, that big old man.
So to let this man around your children again, around you, and she's an influencer who has a lot of women who look up to her. And she's encouraging them to stay in DV situations by herself staying in a DV situation. It's not okay. You have children to protect. And for you to go live and say he's trying to put me 6 feet under, only to then turn around and say, no, it was all a lie. It's all fake. It didn't actually happen. We misunderstood. We're taking things out of context. Like, no, I don't even know. That doesn't make sense. And you can't just erase everything that happened by saying, oh, just kidding. It doesn't erase it. If a man has the capacity to put his hands on you, if he has the capacity to make you fear for your life.
Not speaking for me, but just for other women, if a man almost kills you and he's double your size and you find a way to escape, always call the police.
Then it's not stable or healthy. Your partner should not make you feel that way. And what's interesting to me is that even in the How We Met video, she talks about him sniping and her literally running away from him, being terrified that he was gonna kill her.
He's like, nothing. I just came from sniping. I ran down my own stairs into my garage, y'all, and I was about to hop in my Camaro and leave.
It's like, oh, this is one of those naive, scared little girls.
Yeah, because I'm like, sniping, like, let's be real. I hate to be so black and white, but I don't care. I'm like a very cultured person.
She thought
who
I am popping heads, but what I was doing
I'm like, who the heck? This big, scary white man that I just let in my house and he just tell me he comes back from sniping.
And I told her she ever leaves me, I'm a sniper no matter where she's
No,
at.
you didn't. Shut up. But I was scared of that.
There's a fundamentally deep-rooted level of fear and insecurity that Rose has around Brett, and that is wild to stay with people and post that to the internet and let people into your marriage in that kind of way, yet say we deserve privacy, yet say no, that's not true, but it's what you say. And no matter how far, how much someone pushes your buttons, it is never okay to use violence against someone. And I have a feeling this woman is a very, very good button pusher and just relentless. But regardless, you do not put your hands on someone. Doesn't matter how much they upset you or pissed you off. Violence is never okay. It's never the solution or the answer, and it might be time to separate if the fights are now so bad that they actually lead to violence, lead to someone being arrested and charged with domestic violence, because it isn't okay to teach children to stay in this kind of dynamic relationship, one that's abusive. That's what this normalizes. It's not normalizing overcoming this and adversity and whatever. So what's one reason that Rose might be staying in this relationship other to uphold the business arrangement, because they're probably making money and, image, and it's their brand and stuff like that. We've touched on it a little bit so far, and that's struggle love, and the fact that Rose might just be addicted to struggle love. Struggle love refers to a relationship where one partner puts in considerably more effort and consistent effort to the relationship. And it's sold as this love conquers all type vibe, which is something we've seen throughout this entire video. When in a struggle love type relationship, one person often feels that they are carrying the emotional or the practical weight of the entire relationship, while the other person is kind of slacking, not putting in their share of the work. There's a serious lack of reciprocity, which often leads to resentment or dissatisfaction in the relationship. And they often confuse this fiery fights and the passion of it all, the chaos, as love, as stability, when really it's not. You're just addicted to chaos. And it can even sometimes mask unhealthy dynamics such as verbal or emotional abuse, codependency, and even manipulation, which is something we've seen throughout the entire deep dive on Rose and Brett, something that comes up consistently in their content. Sometimes this is a partner who isn't working, who refuses to go find work, not actively seeking work, Drew Jenkins much, or someone who is unwilling to commit fully to the relationship. You know, like Brett saying he never dates anyone more than 3 months and the back and forth. Rose funding their entire relationship. That's kind of one-sided as well. And maybe being someone who is a little bit emotionally, verbally abusive. I mean, we know she verbally abuses her fans at the very least. So I'm pretty sure some of that toxicity would bleed over into real life, if I'm just being honest. I find it hard to believe that she would be so emotionally erratic in so many different ways to her audience, but not towards her family, her inner circle. Ultimately, struggle love is not healthy or sustainable in a long-term relationship because it lacks that balance and that give and take that relationships feed off of, and probably lacks a lot of trust on one side or the other. And as we learned in their How We Met Walking Red Flag video, there was a little bit of hesitation in the beginning and a little bit of the chasing. It's almost like you're fighting for something you can't have, and that makes you want it more, right? Classic human behavior. But ending up with that person long term is a disaster waiting to happen. Brett has all of these undesirable qualities. So why would you be with him?
And wanting to move in with you, you would be having that shit. But you let this white man do the same thing black men be doing. And I'm seeing you get online to discuss and cuss your husband out the very same way that you would cuss a black man out, and he makes the same amount of money that a black man would make.
And why would you normalize and promote this kind of toxic cycle that paints this chaotic life as cute or aspirational?
There is a tier of black men that I run into every day that I'm married to a black man. Yes, he's African, but there are also American black men that are just as competitive with an African black man, and African black men have their own shit as well too. You will be a sister wife married to an African black man because yeah, they do stand on business when it comes to raising their families, but to isolate based off of 3 experiences that you had at such a very young age, and now you put a white man on a totem pole like this as he's the savior, which was systematically designed for all women to look at white men as a savior. You're doing that, but yet making videos when you're drunk one night with a glass of wine, because the wine do tell truth, and you tried to put him out as the black man that you did when you put on papers and made him pay child support. So which is it, Rose?
And that's why I say 3, because after the husband, ex-husband, baby daddy, that wasn't just it with me dating black men. I dated the others after him. And it wasn't like the worst experience at all.
I get that, but could it possibly be time for you to pick better?
It's just so inherently harmful. A very interesting back and forth between her and Tasha K was Tasha says that you seem to be projecting your internalized feelings onto your boys and outwardly. You're perpetuating these harmful stereotypes and saying things like, even if it doesn't work out with Brett, you probably won't bother finding a man of color.
If I was not to be with my husband, I would not desire to waste my time trying to find the right black man. Now, if I just somehow just fell in love, then I would be open to that. I'm not telling people to open horizons while I'm closing mine, but they wouldn't be like my first, option.
Are you okay with your boys being skipped over by women just because they're African American, even if they don't possess the same qualities of those negative stereotypes?
So are you, is it okay if black women were to skip over your son and say, hey, based off of my experiences with 3 black men, I'm no longer prioritizing men in my own race.
Very good back and forth. So even though Rose and Brett are trying to end the stigma of these interracial relationships, and Rose is trying to encourage women to divest and seek better lives for themselves, she's just perpetuating these super harmful, toxic stereotypes and hasn't actually successfully divested, because now she finds herself in the exact same position with a white man who possesses all of the same qualities that she claims African American men possess and that she detests. And also perpetuating these harmful, toxic stereotypes that African American men are labeled as, with the content that you shove down people's throats day in and day out. How you promote your husband, and also how you talk about the father of your children and how you paint him to be. And by Rose being a public figure and accepting this kind of toxicity and volatility, it ends up normalizing these kinds of chaotic relationships. And it encourages her fans to just ignore all of the red flags. Because as influencers, they have serious influence over people, especially Rose. So by her saying all of this stuff, all of these problems present from day one, and also her denying and skirting all types of accountability, will have long-lasting, deep-seated issues going forward. So now I want to unpack a little bit of the cultural impacts that the content that Rose puts forward can have on society. This content won't just end up hurting her family in the long run. It also perpetuates very, very harmful, toxic rhetorics that African American people have been trying to break free from for generations now. And from the beginning in the subreddit, BW Divest, they clocked this behavior hardcore by labeling Brett as both dusty and a wigger, stating that it's a huge red flag when a white man tries to appropriate their culture, because it can't really be considered divesting, can it? Because now you have someone who's acting the exact same as the people you claim to hate so much. And him being labeled as a dusty man, aka a man who can't provide for a woman, years ago in this subreddit, which is funny given their first vlog together where she goes out and spends all this money where it doesn't need to be spent, trying to change him, trying to dress him up to fit her aesthetic. It's not for comfort. It's not because he needed it. It was to fit this aesthetic that she's been trying to build all along. And during her interview with Tasha K, she spews off all this crap about choosing her men based on statistics.
But the statistics don't lie when it comes to Black men and Black women in the dating scene. My preference is based off of factual statistics.
Basically implying that African American men are deadbeats who don't commit and don't care. And she even went so far as to say that if she wasn't with her husband, Brett, she likely wouldn't bother looking for a man of color because of the statistics. This is where Tasha K throws back in her face, well, you're raising Black sons.
So are you is it okay if Black women were to skip over your son and say, hey, based off of, my experiences with 3 Black men, I'm no longer prioritizing men in my own race.
Okay, so you're cool with women just skipping over your sons because of statistics, even if they're nothing like that. It doesn't matter. Your sons are going to suffer from this because you're here saying, I choose my men based off of statistics, which means you're encouraging your 1 million+ followers who are blindly believing these statistics that were put in place by white men to make Black men look less desirable.
You do know that was systematically put in place by white men, right?
So you're already setting your kids up for failure in their future based on the content that you put forward, based on your views, your beliefs, your values. And the only response Rose has was to double down stating statistics again. Statistics, which is mind-blowing. Because hopefully Rose isn't raising little boys to grow up to be deadbeat fathers, to be absent, right? Breaking those generational curses. Yet perpetuating them by not giving men of color a chance because of statistics, by painting their dad to be a deadbeat, by painting Brett to be a savior. How is this generational trauma ever going to be healed if all we do is state statistics and don't actually heal from it? Write them off based on the color of their skin. Honestly, it sounds really fucking racist to me. I'm not gonna lie. The only way it's gonna get broken is if we're actively raising our children to not perpetuate these harmful stereotypes and to teach our children to not judge based off of these harmful stereotypes that were made up centuries ago. That's how society is going to start to heal from these generational traumas. Teaching the children to do better, to not be that way, and to not settle for less than. There are plenty of deadbeat white men, plenty of them. And Rose ended up with one of them, which is so frickin' ironic given her strive to avoid them at all costs. And casting Brett as this white savior, which is a trope that was put in place to devalue men of color, is shaping their kids' outlook on white men, on black men, on white women, on black women. It's shaping all of it. The older two are already rejecting their bio dad, already being fed that he's a deadbeat. And it's all linked in this messy entanglement of chaos. And it's really quite sad. So I want to break down some of the harmful stereotypes that we've discussed at length throughout this deep dive, because I think that education is the most powerful tool to changing our minds for the better. And regardless of intention on the Kween of Kings platform, it's not okay to have these harmful rhetorics plastered all over the internet. So starting off strong with the white savior trope, it stems from colonial narratives, which, like I've said, devalue men of color. And Rose feeds into this by saying things like, Brett is my queen, he treats me like a queen, which on the other end of the coin implies that the last guy did not treat her like a queen. The last guy was bad, was worse than this guy who saved me from my ex. And it's just so funny that she's constantly saying this about her man who's not a great man. But like I said, it's feeding into that deadbeat stereotype, which is deeply rooted in Jim Crow's buck stereotype. There's a lot of them, guys. I know. We got white savior, we got deadbeat, we got buck. It's wild how many they are. And honestly, I didn't realize how many harmful stereotypes there truly were that white men created a couple centuries ago. And I'm so grateful that I was able to do this and learn about all these stereotypes and hopefully be more aware of everything. It really helped to open my eyes to just how toxic Rose's platform really is and how toxic her behaviors are and how they're actually linked and rooted into a lot of these stereotypes. And it's just really fucking gross all around. Oh my gosh, it's too much. It's too much. But if we circle back to some of her outbursts that we've seen throughout her content, where she completely emasculated her husband, well, that stereotype is actually the sapphire trope, which is one we touched on earlier, and it's also known as the angry black woman trope from the Amos and Andy's days. And Tasha K calls her out on this, saying, you completely emasculated him. You know that, right?
What happened? Why you cuss your white husband out like that and emasculated him before these black men that was waiting on your ass to come out and say he just like us? They just like us.
Tasha,
what happened?
Why you keep saying white husband?
Because
And she even goes so far as to say, you're being divisive. It's the exact same thing that African American women complain about African American men about. And you find yourself with a dusty white man.
Cash.
Oh, okay, I'm just checking. You know, I didn't know. Like, I'm thinking maybe you moved in with a white man in Vegas that had like a 6-bedroom house. I didn't know he had a mattress on the floor when you told him, and he was about to go do a roommate, and you told him to come stay with you.
Well, now you know, Tasha. Now you know, girl. You ain't know, but if you don't know.
But here's the thing now. You out here dragging black men for if it was a black man living at home with his mama and wanting to move in with you.
Tasha.
and wanted to move in with you, you would be having that shit. But you let this white man do the same thing black men be doing. And you said, come on in because you felt like his intentions were different. But I don't need to put down a black man to put up one. You literally put down black men to put up your white husband. And then you still cuss him out. Because your attitude, I'm going to be honest with you, is the reason why a lot of black men don't want to be fucked up with us, right? You're giving that same attitude that black men complain about to a white man. And you're saying, oh, because he takes it, because he's more meek than a black man, because he appears stronger than a black man, then he must be better than a black man. It's no different than a black man that lays up with Becky and says that, oh, black women it is.
Not because of his race. My man is better than any man of any race because he's my husband. But honestly, what I want to say to you is...
Go ahead.
What I want to say to you is, like I said, this isn't about... When did I bash? May you...
It's ridiculously ironic. And all of these tropes, the sapphire, the buck, the white savior, and there's quite a few others as well. It all circles back to normalizing this kind of toxicity, perpetuating this generational trauma. That alone can have a huge impact on people's mental health. Not only hers, but her kids, her audience as well, her husband, especially given the irony that Brett is a deadbeat, especially that. And this back and forth divestment debate with Tasha K is literally a masterclass in contradictions. Every word out of Rose's mouth is a contradiction to what she posts, what she's said, what she doesn't say, what she talks about, how she says things. It is wild, and I fully understand why Tasha K walked off set at the end, because it is so infuriating to have someone sit there and you throw all of the textbooks in their face and them still be like, well, nope, I'm right, you're wrong. She refuses to take any blame or accountability for her actions, for her shitty behaviors. And I can't even imagine trying to sit down and interview someone like that. And Tasha K even points out the irony of Rose saying she's successfully divested, but the focus is more so on his race, right? My white king, my white, versus how he actually is as a person.
You and Brett have had going on for quite some time. I did notice a lot of race baiting going on over there. Like, it seems like, black men was mainly, it was black men and black women that were mainly the audience of you and your husband who are in this interracial relationship. And then there would be a lot of memes created from your end to basically, I don't know, it seems like throw jabs at black men for not being for not being Brett to you. Because you praised your husband a lot, and he happens to be white, and it seems like his color was more magnified than his manhood.
One clip that I did want to share that I thought was an interesting perspective on it all came out right after the financial debacle in July 2024. And it's this woman kind of standing up for Brett and Rose and their relationship, saying that, being successfully divested doesn't always mean that he financially saved you. It can mean physical security, emotional security, stability, that sort of thing. So I'm going to play that now because I think it's a really good perspective to keep in mind.
Rose and Brett. Let me first say I'm not a connoisseur, a fan, or even a follower. I've seen secondhand videos and I'm aware that they were a thing. And they're still a thing, but people have a problem with their relationship because supposedly she's going off. Many of folk are talking about he was supposed to save you. He was your white savior, but he's saving you. Do not act like this doesn't happen in our community. Black women are the most educated, and you want to know why? Because they sold us the dream that we can get the education and the this and the that, and go to therapy and all this stuff. Make yourself better. Put the community on your back. We're all burdened with that, and our counterparts are not doing that. To find a black man that's like in therapy voluntarily is like finding a unicorn at all ages. Okay, that it's not something that they are embracing. We are embracing it for the purposes of having an amazing life. So many of us have put Ray, JoJo, and John on our back thinking that they were worthy. And when people saw us doing good, they assumed it was him. And we were like, yeah, he's amazing. Until we had to tell the truth. Not so much. It was me. I bought that. I bought this. I bought that. And we've all been there hoping that someone would take our offering and do something good with it. Some men have. Many appreciate it. So many have not.
So even if it is true, so the F what? If you love somebody and they provide peace, they provide comfort, then why would you not? That sometimes is even more valuable than someone bringing $100,000 to $1 million to $1 trillion to the table. It's whatever it is for you. But I'm not mad at a woman saying, you know what, I'm the one, I have the vision, I have the goal, we need to create the legacy, and to giving her man the opportunity to come up. If you guys end up in an amazing space and you vetted that situation, then do you. I don't care. That has nothing to do with me. And for her to come out and say something about it, if it were true, it's just her way of saying, listen, I've made this sacrifice and it didn't work out. People are learning from both vantage points. From the vantage point of seeing a woman thriving, having a life, enjoying a life, and even saying, hey, I bought into this dream, I sold this vision, and it didn't work out. Personally, I think it's all fake. I think it's all for fodder. It's all for views. I don't believe it at all. And at the end of the day, even if somebody started this race, they're both going to finish it. They both earned the right. So don't get too caught up in the, you know what, she ain't being saved by her great white hope. That is too minuscule. It's too minuscule. The major theme here is that even though they look and or appear to be suffering, the engagement that they're experiencing is sending those checks through the roof. When it comes down to it, social media doesn't care if people like you or don't like you. They only care about engagement. When you talk mess on people's videos, they make money off of that. The best thing that could ever happen to you is somebody not liking you and writing in your comments. That sends your engagement up. If you don't know that, then you're no business. And at the end of the day, I think that Rose is probably the smartest person in this whole conversation. Let me know your thoughts.
And I included that because I think it is important to consider that divesting isn't necessarily only financially motivating, right? Especially if the reason is, let's say, a deadbeat dad or the fear of a deadbeat dad, right? Stability for your children. That's a good reason to divest. Sometimes it's emotional security. They feel safer and more emotionally stable with the person that they end up with. It doesn't always need to be financially motivated to be a successful divestment. And that goes back to the fact that women are allowed to earn their own money. Men don't have to fully fund the relationships. But the content that Rose puts forward is, Brett did this for me. Brett bought this. He did this. Spoiled wife, soft wife, mom era, something. I don't know. And her saying that she is treated to these luxurious items or hair done, nails done, everything done did. She puts that kind of content forward as Brett funding everything. So when the financial dispute happened, that whole facade crumbled and people were upset about it because everything turned out to be a lie, which she tries to backpedal, but then even goes on to fully admit that everything was a lie after that. So it's like, what is it then? I don't know. I think it's just a desperate attempt to damage control. I think that's what it is. That's all it can be. Nothing else makes sense. So again, sometimes divesting is more about an emotional security or a stable, proper parent for their children. Given all we've learned about Brett throughout this entire video, I wouldn't necessarily say he fits that narrative. Just saying. But I did think it was a good point to include because valid. It doesn't always need to be financially motivated in the strive for more or better or just a better life in general. In my opinion, her content is reinforcing the deadbeat trope. It's reinforcing the white savior trope. Do you, boo-boo, I guess.
Do you, boo-boo.
It's just deepening that division and misguiding fans into settling. Even if you've divested, you're still settling for less than. But during her interview with Tasha K, she does say that she doesn't think she's race baiting.
I don't feel like I don't know, purposely race baited. We do talk a lot about race in our content just because it exists and we talk about our experiences in life. That's what we do.
Which quickly gets thrown back in her face, and Tasha K goes, well, no, I'm pretty sure that's the reason you're as big as you are today, because the controversy is what drove the viewers your way. Let's be real here.
I feel the controversy is what kind of drove you into the algorithm.
Which really, can we take a step back, please? Can we just reel it back in and stop making trashy, awful rage baiters famous? Please. I know it's really fun to watch them crash out, like Ash Trevino, for example, but it needs to stop. These people need to not have platforms. And by constantly going in and watching them and encouraging them, you are growing and strengthening their platform of rage baiting. Find a different outlet to express your rage, not their platform. Please, ghost them. That's how we make them go away. Seriously. And historically, these various stereotypes have deep-seated roots that men and women of color have been trying to break free from for generations. And even now in 2025, as we sit here, we still see how harmful these stereotypes truly are and how easy it is to continue to perpetuate these harmful stereotypes. And with the content that Rose and Brett put forward, whether or not it's fake, it will continue to perpetuate these stereotypes. And just her poor kids, man, her poor kids. Their content is going to be viewed, internalized, however way the viewer perceives it. And it just adds fuel to that fire. The cultural harm is absolutely undeniable. And even though in her August interview, she said that she would be more mindful of it, of what she titles things and what she posts, it's clear that she's not, given the live, my strong, white, powerful king's 38th birthday. Doubling down again on this white savior trope. Why not my strong, powerful king's 38th birthday? Or my strong, powerful husband's 38th birthday? White doesn't need to be there for it to be equally as impactful. But she says it because it hooks people, because it gets into those algorithms. And I understand, I do. I understand hyping up your husband. We should all be hyping up our husbands. It's our jobs as wives to hype up our husbands, right? But after the DV incident, after all of the allegations are coming out, him being financially incompetent, him not contributing, him piecing out for months, leaving you alone with the kids, after all of that, to see her talk about her husband this way, it really truly feels like she's just leaning on the race card to keep her afloat, to keep her relevant, to keep people clicking. And as I said earlier, if we want to make an actual impact, it starts by the way we raise our children. We need to raise our children to be better human beings than the adults that came before them. That is our jobs as parents, to help break these stereotypes, to encourage our children to love and support people who love and support them. It doesn't matter what they look like. And that goes for everyone raising children in today's society. It is everyone's responsibility to end racism, to end stereotypes. And I'm telling you, it's not by posting this crap content that we're going to alleviate these stereotypes. And that's why I did so much research for this video, because I didn't realize how evident the stereotypes were, and they're being reinforced by the content on the Kween of Kings platform. And as prominent public figures, Rose and Brett need to do better, and we need to demand better from them as well as consumers of social media. We need to not accept this kind of behavior, this kind of content as normal, as entertainment, as anything. But Rose has proven to us that she's just going to do it anyway, to hyper focus on race instead of good qualities, sustainable, successful qualities in her man. It's all about the color of his skin. Ultimately, the dream life that Rose and Brett carefully curated and put forth to the world as content has officially crumbled. From the parenting fails to the relationship red flags from the beginning, all the way down to the cultural impacts, the damage is absolutely done. They've scarred their family and their audience for life. It is not okay, and it should not be acceptable. And as people keep consuming, watching, and supporting, they will not change. Why would they change something if it continues to get them paid? And even if it is all fake, is it okay to perpetuate these toxic stereotypes that are harmful for large communities of people, for money, clicks, views, attention? Is that okay? That's the question we're all left with. People truly just want Rose and Brett to protect their children, their mental health and well-being long term, and take them off the internet. And just please be authentic for once. Stop lying to your fan base, because you're not going to be able to keep up this facade and people are going to leave. Whew, I think we're good, guys. You guys were right though. This was wild. This platform definitely needs a lot more attention, because what the actual poop is going on. Thank you so much for joining me today on this toxic train wreck of a deep dive take 100 because audio issues and everything else issues. I hope this one turns out okay. For those of you that stayed to the end, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Even if you didn't stay to the end, you're not going to see this, but I still appreciate you and your view. Thank you. Please don't forget to like this video if you found it entertaining, informative, educational, whatever the case may be. It really helps the video to grow and reach more eyeballs. And I really appreciate it at the end of the day. I hope you guys are having a absolutely fantastic, incredible day wherever you are in the world, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.